Hello, I'm Mike and welcome to this part of my channel where I talk about things related to physics and the physics degree and answer sort of simple questions on those subjects. This time I want to talk about MPhys versus BSc. So to give you the simple overview, BSc is a 3-year course, bachelor's of science that you get. You do 3 years of physics. MPhys is if you do what's called an undergraduate master's. So you do a 4-year course and in return you get a master's, which is generally seen as a slightly more in-depth degree. There are sort of slightly different things. I mean, I'm talking UK here first, so other countries are different obviously. And there are some ways that you can add a year without getting an MPhys. So for example, if you did physics with say a year in industry is one of the options that comes up, you end up doing 4 years of work to get a BSc, but it's a BSc with that year in industry. Same with a year abroad. You can also do MPhys or undergraduate masters with extra years in like that. Sometimes I think they come out as, then it ends up as a 5-year course. There's also sometimes, depending on the grades you get, you might do a foundation year, which is a year before. But the short of it is, BSc versus MPhys is MPhys takes an extra year, but you get an undergraduate master's, which is generally seen as sort of a degree that requires more work because it's a degree that requires a year extra work. There we go. So here's the sort of the thought process as I go through. What do you want to do and what do you value? Because BSc 3-year course, you can get into work quicker is the thing. That extra year of your MPhys is an extra year where you are, as a student, you are racking up more debt, and obviously more important than that, you aren't getting paid, you aren't putting money away to start doing things with your life. So that can be a bit of a pain, and that's one of the sort of big things for a BSc. If you don't feel the need for a master's degree for that extra year, go for a BSc, you can get into work. The other thing that BSc has on hand is that there are options to do a master's as a separate course. What's often called an MSc, or sometimes known as a Master's by Research, as opposed to MPhys, which is sometimes referred to as a taught master's because it's part of the teaching of your degree. But anyway, I've got off topic, haven't I? You can do a BSc and then say, okay, actually I want to do an extra year to try and find a Master's by Research course. Fine. Of course, if you get to sort of halfway through your final year of an MPhys, you can't exactly say, oh, I just want to pop back in time and pretend I hadn't done that because I don't really want to. No, you've taken the year, and time travel is very limited. So there's sort of the plus side of the BSc. On the plus side for the MPhys, although I said you can go BSc and then into Masters, MSc, Masters by Research, that's not necessarily easy. Those courses tend to have a lot of competition for places, and if you get one, of course, okay, fine, you've got one, but it's slightly different to a Masters, taught Masters, MPhys sort of thing. So it may be that you prefer saying, okay, I'll go for the 4-year course because I definitely want, if you definitely want to get a master's, you can take the stress off it then. You don't have to make sure you've found one. You don't have to go through that sort of, I'm having to fight to get this course, and it's like you're doing that while you're doing your final exams for your BSc. That's not easy, right? That's a lot of stress. If you definitely want to do a master's, then do that. And the last thing I suppose is, why would you want to do a master's? And there's a couple of things. Firstly, generally, if you want to go on into research or sort of do university scientific research as a long-term job, you probably want to get on and do a PhD, and to do a PhD you tend to need some form of master's. I think almost all of them in the UK need the master's course to get on to a PhD, so if that's the route you want to go, kind of necessary. It's also, because it's another year of research, it is going to be slightly more valued in sort of employment terms. Like, I can't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but those that do masters tend to earn a little bit more over the course of their life, on average. Now, it's worth pointing out that that may also be due to, like, the different sort of people who do a master's course. I mean, the sort of, you've done a BSc also includes the people who just about scraped through and managed 3 years, who maybe aren't as good at physics. So it's not necessarily true that you doing a master's will help you earn more, if you see what I mean. You've got to take those numbers with a pinch of salt. It's also true, of course, that money earned earlier in your life is generally more valuable because it's earning interest, or it's getting you into your own house earlier so that you're not paying out rent and throwing money down the drain, that sort of thing. So it's not necessarily true, but it might be. It's something that you could argue. Anyway, that's the MPhys versus BSc as I see it. If you want to do scientific research, or if you are considering scientific research as a serious job in the university sense, then doing an MPhys makes a lot of sense. It puts a lot of stress off you instead, because you now don't have to worry about fighting to get that master's course while you're finishing up your degree. If you are less interested in that, or if you want to just do a degree and get into work, BSc is probably the best option. Anyway, that's just how I see it. Someone else might call me an idiot for thinking like that, but there you go. Goodbye.